640SX built, running, lively, back on the street. Let's go, baby. Woo!
Welcome back to another episode of Terry Thornberry Performance.
As you can see, we're not in the future yet, which means we're not with Bluetooth transmission. That being said, we're in the middle of doing a manual swap, changing it from auto to the good old stick shift.
Bye-bye! So with that being said, we gotta go in the back to TTP Parts to get all these parts to make sure we have everything so we can get this auto to manual swap completely done and back up on the road, manual, on how we like it, baby.
Hey dog, it's already on the pallet. Job's already done.
Yee! So it's always a great thing to have. As you guys can see, we have all the parts here from Terry Thornberry Performance Parts. We have literally acquired all these parts super quick, super fast because of all the years that we've been working on these chassis. So with that being said, all these parts are still, we have tons more of them available for your purchasing. But with that being said, we have all these parts ready for this manual swap, baby. So we got a full, complete clutch kit. We got the transmission, we got the drive shaft, we got the cross member, we got the master cylinder for the slave, we have the slave cylinder, we have the slave cylinder line for the master cylinder for the clutch. Then we have the transmission mounts, we have the shifter, and we also have the manual clutch pedal assembly as well. So we literally have all the parts to get this job done. So instead of just talking about it, let's already start assembling the S14 with all these new parts and getting it on back on the road manual. Let's go, baby. Woo!
Going to be using an 1.5" hole saw so we can get your slave master cylinder in there. Let's go to the car and show you where the right place is to drill it. Whew. It's a tight spot. Easiest way to kind of get it is underneath the dash. You can go over to the firewall in the engine bay, start using special little tools. Other than that, trying to get those holes as best as you can. Start drilling. You gotta go one for the pump, obviously for your pedal, and then 2 holes for the master cylinder to obviously attach to the pedal. We got 1 hole down, 2 more to go. Once you got your 3 holes drilled out, you're gonna grab your nice clutch pedal assembly. You're gonna go put it on in there. Alright, so we got the clutch pedal installed. You're gonna see that there's gonna be a bolt on the top of your firewall. You're gonna attach that, and then the 2 bolts coming out of your firewall. Those are what your slave cylinder is gonna go onto. Those are what your master cylinder is gonna go onto. Other than that, you'll either cut your OEM brake pedal or you'll go ahead and swap it for a manual one, meaning it'll be a little bit shorter. But let's go in the engine bay and see how that master cylinder looks. So as you guys can see, the master cylinder is nicely tucked in there in the OEM spot. Went ahead and drilled it from the firewall inside. So as you guys can see, it now sits and protrudes nice. We'll go ahead and now put the clutch line into the manual transmission once we have this slave on there. Other than that, we need to get this car up in the air so we can put the tranny on. Let's get to it. Alright, so we've actually found the best way to take out these pilot bearings is actually using a blind hole puller. The pilot bearing tools, the teeth, you can't really get a good grasp on them and they'll end up breaking. If you know, you already know. This blind pilot hole puller has a bunch of fangs on it and actually protrudes outward, so it has a lot more surface area for the tool to grab on, meaning that the item that you're trying to grab is going to be more susceptible to come out instead of having 2 teeth just basically breaking. Let's get it pulled out. looking at that? It's about to come out, right? Yeah. So let's take a look now what it's doing. See, you got those little teeth that are penetrating behind the back, making sure it's pulling out. And then on top of that, the surface area is increasing, so it's tightening inside. Best way to take these bearings off.
Right there, just clutch tire bearing right there, big dog.
So when you're hammering the bushing in with the mallet, you just want to make sure that you're hammering the outer edge instead of the inner edge, because if you hammer the inner edge, you'll have a lot of trouble putting this in smoothly. But obviously, if you do it right, it'll just go in just like as you see, nice and smooth. You're good to go. Now we can start installing the flywheel and the clutch kit, the transmission, start getting this thing manual. All right, guys, so another tech tip on doing this auto to manual swap. So when you took off your automatic transmission, you had to take off some torque converter bolts. That bolts onto a flex plate. So with that being said, your flex plate is being torqued down, being held on by the automatic transmission flywheel or flex plate bolts. As you guys can see, they're fairly short and small, just because the flex plate is super thin and it doesn't have to go through something thick, such as the flywheel. So if you would put these through a flywheel, you would only see a couple threads. When you go to torque it down, the bolt will actually stretch and snap the threads. Then these will be no good. So these are out the door when you're doing a full auto to manual swap conversion. We make these longer ones that have the MT on the bolts for manual transmission. They actually make them a little longer, so when you slide them through the flywheel, you get a lot more bite. So when you go to torque down the bolt, the threads don't stretch and they don't snap. They actually hold down a sufficient amount of pressure, making sure the flywheel is torqued down and it's on the crank. Good to go.
Now we've got ahead, we've got the clutch. Also went ahead and torque sealed the flywheel bolts, make sure they're not going anywhere. Like we said in multiple videos before, and we'll keep on saying it, to save a clutch. Make sure the biggest side is always facing trans out. All right, clutch nice and tight. That's the sound I want to hear. Now let's go ahead and put that trans on. Nice little trick that helps putting these trans on is just tilting the oil pan, angling it a little bit so you can tilt the trans in a little angled, right? Instead of straight on, you're gonna hit the whole bell housing.
Like so, it's in. It's in, baby.
Boom. Like we say, she's in there like swim lane. Getting the last bolts for the cross member for the trains are now self-support. Go ahead now and put the rest of the bell housing bolts in, the starter, drive shaft, fluid, all the sensors, and we'll get this thing on the road.
Just like that, baby. Carrier bearing is on, drive shaft is on.
Time to lube it up, baby.
All right, so this is the drain. Just wanted to make sure this is nice and tight so when Jack puts the fluid in, it doesn't come out. So we got the drive shaft on, we got the carrier bearing on. You pretty much have everything under the car pretty much all situated and good to go. Got the slave on, now we got to get the master all 100% bolted up, and then we can come back, bleed this, be good to go, and we go test drive it.
That's right, baby. We're finally in this S14 shifting the proper way, manual style. So we hope you guys liked and enjoyed this video. We showed you guys some stuff that we would do, show you guys some little tips and tricks. If you guys have any questions, please comment below and stay tuned on our both Instagram and as well on our YouTube, because we're going to be having a lot more things that are going to be happening. So make sure you guys stay in tune, like and subscribe. Other than that, Terry Thornberry Performance is out, baby. Woo! Woo!